Welcome everybody, and now we are on the chapter 5, which is the chapter on what we call in Tibetan Shijin. These two chapters, the chapter 4 and chapter 5, are about discipline, or the paramita of Sila. And now first, this chapter has been translated as diligence or vigilance or vigilant introspection, translated from the Padmakara translation, but these are translated slightly differently in different English translations. The Tibetan word is Shijin, which is basically like constantly aware. So the thing starts with those who wish to keep the trainings must, with perfect self-possession, guard their minds. Without this guard upon the mind, the training cannot be preserved. You know, in order to train on the path, especially the path of Bodhisattvas, then, important is Sila, how to act with your body, with your speech, with your mind in a positive way. But in order to train there, the most important thing to train is to guard our mind, to be, to protect our mind, to be, to look after our mind in the right way. Because if our mind goes out of control, untamed, then, we cannot actually train, and we cannot do anything. It can create havoc. So therefore, if we have to guard our mind, then we need a way to do that, and that's the vigilance or mindfulness and awareness. I think the simple word I think we can use is mindfulness, awareness. Now here, it first discusses, in this chapter discusses why it is so important to guard our mind, to become, mindful and aware. Because, if we don't do something about our mind, if we don't guard our mind, then, all kind of, negative things can happen. Like here it says, wandering it will, the elephant of mind will bring us down to torment in the hell of relentless pain. No worldly beast, however wild and crazed, could bring upon us such calamities. If our mind is not taken care of, not guarded, not done something about, and if it goes out of control, it can create, lots of problems, because all kind of negative emotions can arise, and all kind of wrong way of saying things can happen, and therefore if a strong emotion that we do not become aware of or do something about, then all the problems of the world, all the problems that we have is created by that. The mind which is acting or reacting without proper mindfulness or awareness. From the Buddhist point of view, how we are, how we feel now, how we live our life now, is also on how we actually how we train our mind actually. If we first understand that if we always allow our mind to be completely controlled by our negative emotions and our kleshas, and then act on that, it will create lots of problems for everybody, and also it will bring lots of suffering and pain on ourselves. But when we understand, and that is what we call karma also. The karma is not something different than that. The way we act, the way we react, the way we see, the way we, our mind functions and become accustomed to that. If we act or react in a certain way, and that becomes, the stronger that becomes, that is what we call the karma, and that is what we call the karmic results, because that will create the situation, the reality for us, and that will be the way we will be in the future also. So therefore, carefully understanding how important it is, the way we think, we react, we use our emotions, and then becoming a little bit aware of that, mindful of that. And if we find that our mind is reacting in a negative way, which is going to create problem and pain and disturbance for myself and others, then to become aware of that is the first thing. So therefore, we need some kind of wisdom, to understand the mind's actions or reactions, what kind of action it is going on, how we are, what we are thinking, what we are doing, how I am feeling, in what situations I am, and things like that. And then, if I am acting or reacting in a way which I know is going to create, difficulties or disturbance or negative actions or negative reactions for myself and others, and that time, it is very important to become totally aware and That's called mindful, aware. That's called vigilante. And when that happens, then this suggests, of course there are many different ways of dealing with this, but the first thing is to be aware, to know what is happening. And that, two things. First, how we are doing, acting with our body and speech. And then second, especially main thing, is how we are acting or reacting with our mind. From Buddhist point of view, mind becomes more important because that precedes the actions of the body and speech. And body and speech, actions, sometimes what is seemingly positive can also be negative, and sometimes seemingly negative can be positive, but mind actions cannot be. So therefore, we have to be extremely aware of our mind is doing. Because, as according to, heaven is created also by our mind, hell is also created by our mind. All kind of, wars are created by our mind, our negative emotions and things like that. Peace is also created. Every positive thing in the world also is coming from the mind or the emotion of each of us. And then more of the people on the earth do positive things, then the world will become more positive, and the more of us will do negative things, the world will become more negative. And so that creates our own personal, happiness, unhappiness, and all kind of situations, and that also creates the societal or social positive and negative situations also. So having understood this very clearly, then, each of us, the main practice, what we call practice in Buddhism, is nothing other than this, that we become aware what's going on. Sometimes people think that, discipline is a very difficult thing. It's a very hard thing. It's it's something that needs lots of discipline and things like that. But actually, in a way, it's just being aware. Being aware what's going on. A little bit time to time to look back and see what's going inside us. And of course, what am I doing, at this time? And then if I find that, my mind is in turbulence, in a negative way, lots of, anger or, too much jealousy or, too much greed or something, I'm doing something that is creating disturbance to my mind and to myself, and also creating problems for others if I act on that. Then what is recommended here is be like a log. The first and most what can you say, practical suggestion given is that you just freeze, not act. By realizing that if I act on it and then, put that into action, then it will create lots of negative problems which will be difficult to rectify. So it is much better for me and for everybody else, for now and for the long run, that I delay action on that and just, relax. Be like a log means not to act. Because as we have already discussed in previous chapters, our emotions, whether it's anger or, jealousy or greed or, any kind of emotions, it's very strong. It's very, very strong. But tabi jus never there's much very, very strong. But it changes. It doesn't remain the same for a long time. When we are kind of taken over by a certain emotion, like sadness or anger or, any kind of strong emotion, we feel that emotion will be there all the time and it's not going to get over, and it will be like this all the time. But that's wrong, There is no emotions which lasts, all the time. Not only all the time. Most of these negative emotions actually, changes, very quickly. Sometimes, just in a few seconds or a few minutes, or at least overnight. So therefore, if we acted on that emotion at that time, if we said something very hurting at that time when we are angry, it could create a hurt somebody that may not be forgotten for a long, long, long time, maybe for life. But if we can just stop it in doing that, then that anger which makes us say or do something changes, sometimes very quickly, and then after some time we will be very happy that we didn't do that, because we prevented from creating a big problem, big hurt or big damage, sometimes to ourselves and sometimes to others. So therefore, by this understanding, understanding is that we wait, we kind of freeze, we delay the action. And, maybe we can just breathe in, breathe out, or we can just, put our attention on something else, or just don't react for a while. It is not, that difficult to stop acting for a short time. And then when the emotion is, that negative emotion is subsided or gone, then, and some people think that I should not repress my emotions. And if I repress my emotions, it will create a problem for me in the long run. I think repressing my emotion is not that, If I clearly see that emotion or thought or whatever is coming, reaction, if I act on that, or if I let it go on acting or in our mind, it will be not good for me and not good for others. With that understanding, if I delay that action, and then in a short while, when I find that emotion is subsided, it is gone, and then I will be happy that I didn't act in that way. I don't think there's any repression there. Actually, I will be more happy. So therefore, this is, I think, very important, because if you are too afraid of repressing your emotions, because I think repressing is that, we keep that emotion. We keep that emotion and not act it out, and keep it there. Then it's not good. And for that, that's not what we are talking about. We are not talking about keeping that emotion. We are talking about letting go of that emotion completely, by just, relaxing and then let it naturally go away. And when it naturally go away, then we don't need to do that. And this first needs our understanding, our understanding. Understanding, one thing is that, our negative emotions, negative way of reacting is causing pain and problem and suffering for ourselves, and not only for ourselves, but others too, everybody around me, and to those I'm acting, reacting, and then, also, in the long run, because if I keep that emotion, then I will become more and more that kind of a person, that kind of person. So therefore, it will also create my own environment, how I see the world is basically how I am, how I react. So therefore, in order to actually transform my life, my way of being, we have to start with looking at my own mind and how I react and and then I have to also think, what I'm doing, what I'm acting and things like that, and then, with my body, with my speech, and then keep on, and this becomes the core of, discipline. This is the core of Shila. Because if we use that in, as our main way of life, then discipline doesn't become very difficult, because it's a way of life. It's just I do what I feel is the most beneficial thing for myself and others. Because discipline, I think I already said this many times, but discipline is about recognizing or, realizing what actions or reactions that is, harmful and bad for myself and others. And when I recognize that, then I allow myself not to do that. And then when some thoughts and actions and reactions I see as something useful and beneficial and good for me and others, then I allow myself to do that. And that is Shila, that is discipline. And in order to train that, then I need to become aware, and that's the mindfulness, mindfulness and awareness, vigilant, whatever you call it. And when that happens, then, that's what called practice of Dharma, Now here, when we practice on all the, 6 paramitas is also that. 6 paramitas is exactly actually having, working on our mind. The paramita of giving, you don't perfect the paramita of giving by making everybody in the whole universe become rich or prosperous or something like that. That cannot happen. But if if my mind is completely, generous and is able to give or able to have the training, or if I can allow my mind to be completely generous and giving, then I perfect generosity. And same with all the other paramitas, that everything is actually basically on our mind, the training of the mind. And that training of the mind is, like here it says, I don't think I will go through all the things because this is quite a long chapter. But the core is about that, and then, we have to see that the purpose, that the real thing is that how do I live my life? How do I live life? I want to live my life in a way that is purposeful, useful, helpful, and purposeful means that I feel that the life I lead is something that is meaningful and something that created causes of us happiness and benefit, something good, well-being for myself and for everybody else in the long run. So therefore, we need to sometimes think a little bit, widely. Sometimes, we feel that, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is something nice for me, and I want it, and I need to do this, and I need to enjoy that, or something like that. So, when we think a little bit more deeply and a little bit more, calmly, we will find that if I did that, maybe at that moment I might feel a little bit, kind of comforted, or, enjoying, or, a little bit kind of a pleasure or something like that, satisfaction. But, if that is something which, if I look a little bit deeper, and it will cause problems for myself and problem for others, and creating more negative emotions and negative, more causes of worries, more causes of anguish, more causes of disturbance, more causes of, attachment and aversion and all kind of things, then realizing that this little, kind of satisfaction or pleasure that I get now, if it affects my well-being and others' well-being in the long run, then should I do it or not? Because it will be more important, more beneficial, more long-term, more for more people. So therefore, because this moment will pass like this. It's so, everything is so quickly. If I did something that gives me a little bit of something nice feeling at this moment, and then a long time of difficult and problematic situations, I should not choose that little bit of, positive or good feeling, but more. So therefore, this discipline is also a lot to do with wisdom, with understanding, with clarity. And if I need to train on this, and if I have to think like that, I cannot put it into action unless I become a little bit more mindful, more clear, So therefore, the training, this is not just discipline training. This training is for everybody, for all other trainings, of all 6 paramitas that we here, of course, it says always try to be, but as much as possible we try to watch what's going on. Sometimes some great masters always instruct us, just look at your mind again and again and again. Watch your mind, they say. And what it means is this, that to see what is going on in our mind, what emotion is going on, what reaction is going on, what am I doing with my thoughts, with my actions as well, and how it is affecting me and how it's affecting other people. And then, with our own innate wisdom, we see that whether it's good, it's right, it's more beneficial and purposeful to act in this way or in that way, or react in this way or that way. And if we can a little bit do that, I think we become much more kind of independent, When we talk about freedom, actually freedom is also coming from inside us. Freedom is coming from inside us. If I know how to act or react in a way that is good for me and good for everybody, and then if I do that with my own free decision, and then if I come to understand, come to know that what I did was a good decision, was right, and was good for myself and others, and was good for me now and in the long run, that will give me confidence, that will give me freedom, that will give me, strength. So therefore, it's not just like, oh, I have to do this, this is very important to understand, I think. Sometimes discipline or morality, many people think it's something, without freedom. Something that I have to do it because somebody told me to do it, because the book said I have to do this, the Buddha said I have to do this, the Jesus said I have to do this, the God said I have to do this, therefore I have to do this. And if I don't do this, they will punish me. That's not the idea. That's completely not the Buddhist idea, at least. Because it's not, the Buddhas never punish anybody. Buddhas cannot punish. The Buddhas have nothing to do with punishment. There is no Buddha to punish people. It is even said very clearly, the enlightened beings, the Buddhas, hate negative actions and negative emotions, but they love the people who have negative emotions and negative actions. It's like that. Yeah. But if we do negatively, if we act in a negative way, then the action itself gives the problem. It's not somebody else punishing me. It's just that particular negative action has negative results, reactions. And so therefore, I suffer. I get into problem because of my own action. Like if you throw a stone up into the air like this, it will fall down on my head and it might hurt my head. Nobody is punishing it. It's just the reaction of my own action. So therefore, if we understand the discipline, the ethics in this way, then that is something liberating, something freeing, something, gives me the freedom and confidence. What action I do, or, it's not because of somebody telling me something, this or that, but just... So therefore, of course, there is lots of things in here, but I think I've talked too much. And also, I don't know what time I have to, the main thing, I think I don't have too much time here. I just need to, we have to be more, that's, gently, not like, not too much like, what can you say, intensely, but gently, a little bit aware, a little bit mindful, and see what is happening, and then clearly look at it. And before we act, we make sure that what we are going to act or react with our mind is the right way, which is, and then, the most important thing is to be helpful, to be nice, to be beneficial to all the beings, to everybody as much as possible, because our life is very temporary. We don't know what is going to happen to me. If we are too much attached to our body or pleasure of this body for now, then, it could create lots of problem for me for the long run. So therefore, I can't do this, So understanding also a little bit, that, of course, this will come later, but, little bit understanding that what I do now has much more, longer repercussions, and more long-term repercussions for myself and others. And so therefore, very temporary, this kind of emotion. Or, if somebody did something and then I get really upset and angry, and that I'm insulted, or I'm looked down, or I'm, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Okay, of course people do negative things, and of course, it's not that we have to, carry on, kind of receiving all negative things. We don't have to. We can solve problems and things that we don't need to, But we don't need to, it's up to us. If somebody is not nice to us, whether we become very upset and very angry and very, completely suffering for a long, long time or not, is up to us. Maybe we cannot change them, but we can change our reaction to what is happening or what is people doing and things like that. Because the more I take it as if it's something bad for me and it's very bad, and then the more suffering I give to myself. So therefore, I think I should not say too much, because I think I cannot cover the whole of the chapter, every part of this, but this is, I think, the main thing. So I'll stop here, and then if there's any questions, I'll be most happy to try to answer them.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. Thank you. The first question that's come in has been one, I think, if I'm judging it correctly, the meaning or substance of the question, it's to do with when we are aware of the thoughts and emotions that arise and abide for a while and pass in the mind, that we sometimes find these very concrete. We attribute to them a reality that maybe they appear to have but don't have. So the question is saying, how would you explain the idea that emotions and thoughts in this sense are not real as they appear?
Actually, the emotion and thoughts are very temporary. That's one thing most important to understand. It arises and dissolves. And when it arises, we cannot find where it arises from. It just comes up. It just pops up. And then it goes, and it disappears, and then we don't know where it disappears. So it's temporary, and it's kind of caused with my own actions, reactions, and all kind of different things. So if we look deeply, all our thoughts and all our emotions are like waves, the ocean is there, and then, it has waves, sometimes big waves, sometimes small waves, and but that wave is nothing separate from the ocean. It's the ocean itself. Similarly, our thoughts and our emotions and whatever is like that. It's just, it comes and goes and comes and goes, and even if we want to hold to it, we cannot hold, because it's very, it's very unsubstantial. There's nothing we can hold on to, It comes and it goes, and again it comes, and again it goes, and it comes and goes because of many different reasons. One of the main reasons is that our way of seeing, our way of, if we say this is bad, then we have, negative emotions like anger and unhappiness and things like that. But to the same thing, if we see something not so bad, or something that is like, if somebody is angry with me, and if I say, well, why is this person angry with me? How can he be angry with me? It's very bad. Then I get angry. But if somebody is angry and I see that this person is having a problem, this person is going through, difficulties, then I don't get angry, but I can actually become, So therefore, all these emotions are very elusive and very, there's no concrete, So therefore, actually, from Buddhist point of view, everything is a little bit like that. All the phenomena is also non-substantial because it's made of so many it's interdependently arising things. It's so many different causes and conditions arise it. There's nothing, and therefore it's always impermanent, and everything dissolves, and everything comes together, and so everything is not one thing. Everything is a kind of collection of lots of causes and conditions together, and so therefore they always change, and they always dissolve, and they always. So emotions are even more. So therefore, it's actually not totally real, and not even the idea that I am, is like that, is not so real. So therefore, if we understand this is what we call, the idea of selflessness or emptiness and things like that. Then that applies to everything, including our emotions and reactions also. So when we have a little bit idea of that or understanding of that, then I think it becomes a little bit easier to let go of our emotions.
Thank you very much indeed, Rinpoche. Another next question is one that's looking for guidance on a particular verse in this chapter. It's verse 88. Mm-hmm. Do not teach to those without respect, to those who, like the sick, wear cloths around their heads, to those who proudly carry weapons, staves or parasols, and those who keep their hats upon their heads.
Well, this is just another, this is a custom. This is custom. In India, there's there's an instruction on what to do things and what not to do things. Here is saying that one should try to teach what you know, but not you should not try to teach somebody or who doesn't want to know. That's one thing. And so therefore, you don't need to try to teach somebody or try to preach somebody who are, not receptible and, not respectful or something like that. So, what are the signs of disrespect? So this in Indian kind of, this is given in the Indian, what can you say, culture. In some culture, having a hat shows respect. In another, culture, not not having not put anything on the head is more respect. So these are all kind of different things. I think these things we don't need to be too, I don't think we have to be too, what can you say, take it too seriously. It's about, that if somebody is carrying a stick, then, things like that. All these things are to do with culture, I think, and situations to situation.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. There was also two questions here that really relate to the phrase that's used, and you highlighted in your own discussion of the idea of to be like a log.
Yes.
And both of these questions are really sort of looking at, it can sometimes be kind of misunderstood or erroneously viewed as being sort of neutral to the point of apathy. And they're asking for your thoughts about this common misunderstanding.
Now this is, I think, how I react, if I see that I'm about to be reacting in a negative way, which is going to, cause problem for myself and others, and bring lots of trouble, then it's better that I don't react at that moment. That's what it's saying. Yeah, but generally, it's said somewhere else that we try to be nice and kind, and if I meet somebody, smile, and be courteous and kind and things like that, and try to be somebody who is what can you say, who is aware of others' situations, what they need, what they want, what is good for everybody, and be a little bit more aware, more mindful. Mindful is two things. One is mindful of myself, like what is going on in me, in my emotions and in my mind, and also in my actions, like how I am, what kind of attitudes I'm giving, or what I am acting with my body and speech. And another is, mindful of what is going on around me. What are the, the people around me, and what they want, what they don't want, what they need, what they don't need. What actions will affect them in what way, to be aware and mindful. So this to mindful has to be kind of a little bit there. And, I think the whole thing is about be aware. And, be aware means know what is going on. Me, others, my actions, my emotions. And then their reactions or repercussions. And then mindfulness is then to remember what is the best to do and what is the best not to do, and then doing accordingly. Tenpa, that's translated as mindfulness, usually in Buddhist terms actually means that, knowing what is happening and also remembering what is the right thing to do at that time.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. I'm conscious that we passed 1 o'clock. Have you time for one more question?
Yes, please.
Okay, this one is saying, could you say a little more about the completely giving, generous mind. That is the true perfection of generosity.
The true generosity is that I'm not attached to anything. Yeah, I'm not holding on to anything. So therefore, I have I don't mind, or I have the capacity to let go, or to to give anything and everything. So that's the the generosity that I don't hold on to anything.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Thank you so much
for your time.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Seeing you at the same time next week, yes?
Yes, is it next week or week after? I think week after. Oh, I don't know. I don't know, whenever. Thank you very much, and thank you, all of you, and I wish you all the best, and see you soon. Thank you.